Hello and welcome to another episode of Behind the Cloud. Today we're going to cover generative AI. So unless you've been living under a bit of a rock for the past 2 years, you will probably have heard of generative AI. But what you may not have realized is quite how much time, effort and resource Google is putting into introducing generative AI into the Google Cloud Platform. It seems like their entire roadmap since Gemini was released, or Bard back in the day, has been focused on adding generative AI features to pretty much every service across the GCP. So I thought today would be a really good opportunity for us to dive into a couple of those instances, primarily around BigQuery, because that's where we live. There's quite a few different places within BigQuery where you're going to find generative AI hidden away. First and foremost, just within a query window, there's going to be a couple of ways you can interact with it in order to generate SQL. In the top right hand corner here, on the top bar, you'll see this little pencil with what has become the universal symbol for AI, the little diamond. And inside of there, you'll see all of the settings, things you can toggle off for SQL generation and Python notebook generation when it comes to generative AI. So right now I've got everything turned on because obviously we are demonstrating it. Within the query, I can do a couple of things. So let me just randomly pick out a table. If I start a comment and say, all data from the films table in the Magda test data set. Now if I hit return, it starts to whir up here and think for a second. Then it will suggest a SQL query for you. It'll suggest something that it thinks is what you want. Now, I have a lot of data sets in here and a lot of tables, so it doesn't look right to me. These are things you need to check. Generative AI isn't foolproof. It's not going to always give you the right thing, particularly if you're not as specific as perhaps you should be. Maybe there I should have, specified the table and the data set in the format that it would use within the from block, but I didn't. But if you wanted to accept that query, you can just press tab and then it'll pull that query in for you. So let's try that again, but this time I'm going to click the SQL Generation pencil on the left hand side, click that, and that's going to bring up this preview window here, and I can ask a very similar question. And this is slightly different than just the automatically generated thing, because you can start to refine things a little bit. You can keep feeding back to it, back and forth. Actually, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we change the table name? This will actually also give you summaries of what it thinks it will take to run, whether it thinks it's valid or not. It'll give you a little tick box if this is a valid query. You can edit the table sources with a little bit more ease in here. So this is much more sort of interactive. Then I can insert that and then I can run that, no problem. What I can also do is, say I've come into a BigQuery instance and there's a load of scheduled queries, or there's a load of saved queries, and I don't understand what the hell is going on. I can highlight sections of that code, and you'll notice that little icon on the left hand side has changed from a pencil to the little 3 stars. I can now ask it to explain this query to me, and this will open up the Gemini window on the right hand side, and it will do its best to try and explain exactly what we're seeing here. You can see it's select all. This means it's grabbing everything. It's from the specific table. So it's giving me a good explanation of things. So you can break that down into smaller pieces of code if you want explanations of exactly what's happening. What you can also do with this is you can transform. So this would be to alter that SQL query that we've already written using the generative AI window that we already showed before. So you can change out tables, alter things in different ways. So it's another little tool to be able to manipulate existing SQL. Something else that's relatively new, if I click into a table, you'll notice 2 big previews up here. The one I'm interested in here is the Insights preview. So if I click into Insights and ask it to generate insights, what that's going to do is it's going to use generative AI, look into the table, and it's going to suggest loads of potential queries I could ask, questions I could ask of that data, and it's going to provide me with the SQL to ask those questions. Now we can see that has generated a load of insights for us. So this is lots of different questions that it thinks we could ask. Which genre is the highest average star rating of films of less than 90 minutes? And it has created a SQL query that we can copy and go and answer that question. So another thing to show is the data canvas. The data canvas is going to be a subject all of its own for a future video. But for right now, there are some natural language ways of interacting with your BigQuery data in this data canvas. So I've been able to just sort of naturally write a table I want to find. So again, I've tried to find the films table in the Magda test dataset, and there it is at the top. So I can click Add to Canvas. Now I have this table available to me within my canvas. If I click Query, it's the suggested one, but if I want to, we can preview the data to see what's in there. So let's say only films with a star rating of over 5. So that's generated as a SQL query with films that are a star rating of over 5. Let me run that. There's our data. Now, if I click Visualize into, let's say, a pie chart, again, we've got generative AI pieces within the visualization component so that we can start to manipulate visualizations. I just asked a follow-up question to limit to the top 10 films there, and it has redone my chart in that way. And you can manipulate and keep trying with this and playing with it until you get what you want. Next thing to show is the sidebar. So throughout GCP now, you're going to have this Gemini AI chat at the top. Within here, you can ask any general question about the GCP. So I could ask what is Secret Manager, one of its suggested questions. Obviously, this is trained on a lot of documentation around its GCP. So if you're in a particular location, if you're struggling, if you need to ask and figure something out, maybe a good place to start would be to look into this sidebar. It also suggests for you documentation that you can go off and read. So I hope you enjoyed that. There's lots of new features coming online all the time, but a lot of these things are in beta. A lot of these things need accessing via turning on APIs and signing up to beta programs. Keep a lookout behind the cloud for our blogs, for LinkedIn posts, because we're always exploring this technology and we're really interested in it. As always, like and subscribe to keep up to date as these new videos come out, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.